guys, the amp of the week is the Pioneer GM-E360X4. You may have seen this amp at your local Walmart. It's been at my Walmart now for, I want to say, a couple of years. I don't know. I know a good year at least. And I've wondered about this amp for a while, and I've thought about picking it up a time or two. So, quick story. The boy that bought which amp did he buy? The Blau Pump that I got the dual off of. I ended up also buying this amp off of him. I bought more from him than he bought from me. But he had that dual hooked up. And then in the process of telling me about that and me purchasing that amp from him, he told me that he had this Pioneer and said that he still had the box and everything. And I said, well, yeah, you know, give me a price. And he did. And I wound up meeting him again, I think, I don't know, a day later, 1 or 2 days later, something like that. I can't remember. But, and buying this amp from him. So, pretty cool because it's one that I had always wanted to try out anyway. So, let's see what we got. I got it listed here as a 4-channel, 3-channel, 2-channel. We'll talk about that in a minute. There's our favorite 1,000 watts max. On this end, so far it's all about the same. Here's some specs. This is the same as what's in the manual. 70x4 at 4 ohms, 90x4 at 2 ohms, 150x2, 4 ohms bridged. Bass boost, low pass, high pass. Here's some dimensions. What is it? 331. That's going to be millimeter. Well, they got inches on there too. 13 inches by 9.5 by 2 1/8. So there's the dimensions on it. What does it say here? Tokyo, Japan. All right. That's it for the box. I've already got it out of the box, so let's take a look at it. All right. And here's what you get. You don't get a lot with this amp, but you get the owner's manual, and I don't know what else that is in there. Maybe a warranty card or something like that. High-level inputs, some screws and washers, and that's it. I have already looked at the manual. The manual, well, it's got those same ratings, but it does give a little bit more detail as far as right here. It does give a little bit more detail. So we got the maximum power output, 125x4 at 4 ohms, 500x2 at 4 ohms, bridge total 1,000 watts, 250x4 is how they're claiming that 1,000 watts. But here's the continuous power output. That'll be the same as RMS. There's the 70x4 at 4 ohms. Notice this is at 14.1 volts. From 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz at less than 1% THD. 90x4 at 2 ohms. Still got the 14.1 at 1 kilohertz, less than 1% THD. So that's interesting. So they're rating this one specifically 90x4, 2 ohms, 14.1, and at 1K. Or this one, they give you the range, saying that it'll do 70x4 from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. And then down here is the bridge. They only give you one bridged ohm load, 150x2, 14.1, 4 ohms bridge, also at 1K, less than 1% THD. It says here load impedance, 4 ohms, and then 2 to 8 allowable. So you can't go to 2 bridged, but you can go to 2 on each single channel. If you bridge it, you can only go to 4 ohms. Anyhow, decent manual, has a decent amount of info in here. Not too bad. But here's what you guys really want to see is the amp. Decent size amp. I'd say decent heft, not real heavy, but not real light either. So let's take a look at this end. So we have the fork terminals or spade terminals, whatever you want to call them. But it does have the bigger ones for the remote, ground, and power. Two 25 amp fuses. So that always tells us a little bit of something, right? Probably 500 watts or less. You do have a light here that serves as the power and the protect. So it's blue for power, red for protect. And then here's your 4 channels. They've got them listed as a channel A and a channel B. And you can see the positives, negatives, positives, negatives. If you want to bridge them, you go this one positive and this one up here negative for that channel. Then over here, positive and negative. Bridgeable 4-channel amplifier. Pioneer. I miss the old Pioneer logo. Who's with me on that? The old Pioneer logo, that's the ohm symbol. Ever since they changed over to this logo, and they did that probably back around, I don't know, 2000, give or take. It's looked like this for a long time, but I miss the one from the 80s and the 90s that had the little, the ohm symbol. Let me know which Pioneer logo you like the best. All right, so on this side, so you have your channel A and your channel B. Here is your crossover. So you can go to low pass, full, or high pass. The bass boost is 0, 6, and 12 dB. Your frequency range is 32 to 320. So depending on what you're doing here for your crossover, then you will adjust this accordingly. If you want a full range, you just go to full, and then that'll play everything lower and above this 32 to 320, because I'm sure this thing will play below 32 hertz. And then your gain, your inputs, channel A, channel B inputs. Here's your high level inputs with a diagram here as well. Gain for channel B, bass boost channel B, crossover channel B. Everything's the same for these 2 channels. Right there, 4x70 RMS. So that's the first time we've seen that actually listed as RMS. But yeah, that's it. I mean, not a whole lot to it. I want to do, people might hook this up to subwoofers, to be honest. I think the kind of people that would be buying this amp could be using it for anything. I'm going to be honest with you. Door speakers, subwoofers, a combination of both. So I want to do testing on both 1K and 40 hertz. And I want to do it to where people might have this wired. We'll be doing bridged, of course, but I want to do it where people might be hooked up at 4 ohms at 4 channels, or 2 ohms at 4 channels, or, we'll be doing it bridged, of course. But think about this, a 3-channel amp. You could have, let's say, channel A, you could have your right door speaker, your left door speaker, bridge over here on channel B to a sub or 2 subs. But keep in mind, when you bridge, you can only go to 4 ohms. So depending on what ohm load your sub or subs are, you don't want to wire that down to 2 ohms or 1 ohm or something like that. You'll probably have problems here. So you'll definitely not need to wire as low as you normally would wire on your subwoofers. So definitely pay attention to that. If you're not sure what I'm talking about there, do some searches and figure that out. Don't hook this thing up wrong. Do a little research and make sure you're hooking it up right. Everything will be a lot happier. Your subs, your amp, your electrical, everything will be a lot happier that way. So I don't know. Kind of like this amp. I've always liked Pioneer. Decent. I've never had any trouble with any other stuff. I've always liked it quite a bit, actually. But anyhow, guys, that's it for the Pioneer GM-360X4. Let's hook this thing up on the dyno. Let's do 8 ohm. Let's do 4 ohm. Let's do 40 hertz, 1K, certified, uncertified, dynamic. Let's do it all. Stay tuned for that. All right, guys, let's get to the testing. So this run right here, so I am bridged. All 4 channels are bridged down to 2. This is going to be the 8 ohm run because I want to simulate that that 70x4 at 4 ohms. If you notice, bridged, they only give you the 150x2 at 4 ohms, so we don't have a 8 ohm run bridged. But I want to do it anyway to simulate somebody that had all 4 channels loaded down to 4 ohms. And so we are loaded right now at 8 ohms on channel, how is this one listed? I can't remember. Channel A and channel B are both loaded to 8 ohms. I want to do 1K and 40 hertz just to cover all the different scenarios that somebody might be using this amp. This is an amp that people might use all 4 channels. They might use 2. They might put it on subwoofers. They might put it on door speakers. I don't know. I just want to cover it all. We're trying out the new Klein clamp today. We're starting off at some pretty high voltage. I've said it before. My son's car charges at 14.8. Let's do the 1K sine wave first. Let's see what it does. Will it do the 140? $148. All right, pretty good. I would say it beat its ratings. Now, the ratings in this book, though, are at 14.1 volts, which is a little odd. That's different. Pulled 46 amps of current there. That don't seem right. That's a lot of current draw. Well, I say that. We got to keep in mind that it did that times 2. So that pull right there was almost 300 watts. So we do have to keep that in mind. All right, let's zero everything back out here. Let's turn that back on. I don't know if that was on or off on that last run. All right, let's do the 1K dynamic. All right, 168. The voltage dropped the same. Current draw, 12.7. Okay. Let's zero these out again. Let's do the 40 hertz. How about that? Let me get these. All right. Here's 40 hertz sine wave. $158. Oh, it jumped a little bit there at the end. 160, voltage dropped to 14.7, and the current draw 45.9. Keep in mind that just did 160x2. Okay, cool. Let's zero these out again. And let's do that 40 hertz dynamic. Let's see which track. This should be 40 hertz dynamic right here. Looks like 161. Nice, 161. Voltage dropped to 14.7 again. Current draw 23.1. All right, I'm gonna say that it beat its ratings. I know that our voltage is a little high, but still. This is an amp that has max ratings, of course, all the way up to 1,000 watts. But it does have those continuous ratings, and she just did those. How about we rewire this and we do all that again at 4 ohms per channel, bridged. Yeah, let's do that. Sit tight for a second. All right, guys, here's those same runs again, except at 4 ohms instead of 8 ohms. And guys, I will tell you, I have done some testing off camera, and channel A, don't they call that channel A and B? Yeah, you got an A and a B, left and right for each. They are virtually the same. They're only separated by 1 or 2 watts, depending on which run you're doing. But we're only testing the channel A in these videos so that we don't do all these runs again. But on the other channel, you probably don't want to sit through all that. But this is going to be the 1K sine wave. And this run right here, so we are rated for this run, this bridged run down here. Of course, it is for 14.1 volts, 4 ohms, bridged, 1 kilohertz, less than 1% THD. So that's a certified run at 14.1 volts. But that rating there was 150. So let's see. Let's see what we get here. All right, 1K sine wave. Here we go. What are we gonna get? Oh, dummy me. Dummy me. Forgot to turn the amp on. I actually do that quite a bit. Now the amp is on. All right. 1K sine wave. Nice. 208. The voltage dropped to 14.6. The current draw was 77.5. Wow. 208, that's good. All right, let's reset all these. And let's do that. Let's do that 1K dynamic. Wow, 264. 264. That's good. Voltage dropped to 14.7. Current draw 22.2. All right, cool. Now keep in mind it's doing these numbers times 2 because we're only testing one of the 2 channels. All right, let's reset the clamp. Let's do 40 hertz sine wave. 40 hertz. $218. Jumped a little bit there at the end. 221. The voltage dropped to 14.6. And the current draw was 75.5. So keep in mind, it just did 221 times 2. So what, 442? All right, let's reset everything again. Let's do that 40 hertz dynamic. Here we go, 40 hertz dynamic. What's it gonna do? $235. $235. Voltage dropped to 14.7. Current draw 37.8. Guys, I'll say this, I'm pretty impressed. It beat all of those RMS numbers. They're listed as continuous numbers in the book. This will be a good amp that could do a little bit of everything as long as you're not needing too much power. This is listed as being a 2-channel, a 3-channel, or a 4-channel. So keep in mind, what would be cool about using this as a 2-channel, I'm sorry, a 3-channel, you could do, say, channel A for your door speakers. So you've got a left and a right, and you know, you could put that on either 2 ohms or 4 ohms. You could bridge channel B to put on a subwoofer or 2. Now keep in mind, you'd have to watch your ohm loads. Something else, guys, that maybe you've never thought about, I have done this. You could use, let's say on the channel that you're doing your subs on, you could get an inline RCA bass knob, and that does work. So you could run the RCAs right out of your head unit into the channel A, and then channel B have an inline RCA bass knob, and then be able to run your subwoofer off of a bass knob. This amp doesn't come with a bass knob, but you could do your own, and that works well. And then your door speakers would not go up and down with the bass knob, only the subwoofer or 2 subwoofers, whatever you put on it. But anyhow, guys, I kind of like this amp. I've always liked Pioneer. They was a brand that back in the day I liked pretty decent, and I still think that they're making some decent quality stuff. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Hey, thanks so much for watching.